Hi, everybody. I'm David Pipe, and I'm here with Rob Kent. We wanted to talk through for all the first timers out there, how do I buy my first home? Obviously, it's a big concern right now as affordability is low and people wonder about what's happening with rates. We thought it was a great time to talk through some of the things that first time buyers need to know in this short video. So, what you're going to see today is number one, let's talk about the realities of today's market, how things are going, how it affects you, and what you can do. Number two, what are the most important first steps that you as a home buyer, especially a first time buyer, need to take to be successful? Number three, how do you get the right financing? Of course, that's important, getting approved and getting the mortgage for you. And equally as important, how do you get the right realtor? How do you work with somebody who's going to help walk you through the process in a way that fits with your preferences and gets you the result that you need? And then we'll just wrap it up and give you an opportunity to reach out to us if you have other questions. So let's jump right into it. Number one, Rob, why don't you help us with an understanding of where we are today?
Yeah, so I mean, as it says, today's market realities, affordability is low. So right now we're seeing, an all time low in people being able to purchase a home. Right, the prices of homes have skyrocketed over the last couple of years, and it's making it harder and harder for first time home buyers or for anybody for that matter to for getting a home. Um, the interest rates as well. So interest rates being a lot higher than what they were over the past couple of years has kind of put a bit of a damper on the hot real estate market. Um, just going into attainable versus luxury in housing, and what does that mean? So attainable is homes that would be anywhere and under 500,000. Uh, so buying attainable homes is becoming increasingly more difficult. Luxury homes, 1.5 and higher. We're seeing more and more luxury homes, but again, being able to purchase those luxury homes with the interest rates the way they are now make it quite difficult. And then you get into pricing and inventory. What we see now, what we've seen over the last several years is a low inventory, meaning that there's not a lot of homes for sale. And so this is what's keeping the prices high because buyers don't really have a lot to choose from. And if they see a home that they like, chances are, they're probably going to be competing with other buyers for that home. And of course, we saw this over the last few years. Um, and then going into interest rates. So in 2022, we saw an unprecedented seven interest rate hikes by the Bank of Canada. And this really slowed the real estate market down and brought the prices down. I think buyers would like to see the prices come down even more, but again, it's going back to that inventory level, and then that's kind of what's keeping the prices afloat and keeping them still fairly high, higher than what buyers would want. Um, so, David, going into the next thing that we're going to talk about, the first steps for a home buyer. How does that look?
Yeah, it can be challenging. I totally get it, Rob. And it's funny we talk about the rate hikes because they started off this year, so we're going right now into 2023, and another rate hike that sort of adds on. So now we're I guess it would be eight in a row, but seven alone in 2022. So for sure, all first time home buyers are well aware of the impact of rates, and so it's really important to talk through what are the most important steps that anybody who's getting into the market who wants to get into the market should be considering. So the first one I say is start early. Don't be worried about getting too much information too early. Talk with the folks that are close to you. Get connected with people in your community that are experts, especially on the financing and on the realtor side, because that's going to be important. And getting that information upfront can help you to plan. So whether you're partway through getting your down payment set together, or you're not really sure, even if you want to stay in one city or not, it's important to start, getting out there and making those connections, because those experts around you are going to be really helpful for you in the long run. So definitely plan ahead. Get some good advice so that you can confirm that your plan is on track, right? Like, where are you getting this plan from, and making sure that you are ready, even if you don't think that you're ready yet. So for sure, don't hesitate. Start early if you think that a move is in the future for you in the next even year or so. Like a lot of our clients, it could be a year and a half before they make the move. So a lot can change, and that's okay. Excuse me. The next thing is about getting the team in place. So I sort of alluded to that, but having those around you that can give you that trusted advice is critical. We all love to, read and learn online and get information from whatever, social media or, news sites we read, and that's important. But getting somebody you can trust to ask those personal questions and get some guidance that relates to you is so critical. So get out there and check with, interview, meet with, talk to, especially like I said earlier, the financing side, whether it's your trusted bank person, your trusted mortgage broker, or do some research. If you don't have somebody that you think is perfect for you, get out there and do that research to find someone that fits with your personality and what you're hoping to accomplish, and they can, they feel good about, that helping you hit those goals. The third thing, which honestly is often the first thing people do, is get a pre-approval. It may seem like, not that important, and there's a lot of things that a pre-approval doesn't do, but where it's most critical is it gives you a chance to just make sure your numbers are on track. It also helps if you get the right one to ensure that there's no surprises. I had a client even this morning who, after doing their pre-approval, I got some information back from the lender that said, "Hey, we noticed that their previous mortgage is still showing up on the file." And then in this case, the client was like a spousal buyout. They were buying out their spouse or ex-spouse. So that mortgage that they had sold in the house was paid off a long time ago. It shouldn't be on there anymore. So it's just preventing those surprises, because that could cause a problem down the road with, and make sure your lawyer is up to date and everything's done. So for sure, pre-approval early, it helps you. It heads off problems. It can save you a ton of pain and hassle. And then, be strategic about your house hunt. So like, start thinking early about some of the things that you can do to get the perfect house. That whether it's, I think from a financing perspective, maybe picking a place that has the opportunity for rental income, if it helps to boost up your approval. So there's tons of things that you can do to help be ready and make sure that you, and if you're buying with someone else, a partner, a family member, or whatever, that you're on the same page. So with that in mind, Rob, how do we do that search right? How do we get the right realtor? How do we get the right trusted expert to help us?
Yeah, so I mean, definitely a few things that you want to take a look at when you're looking for the right realtor, and that's seeking somebody. The first thing would be that they know the city that you're looking in, right? That they know the neighborhoods, that they have that local expertise. They know, the best restaurants. They know. Even like later on down the road, like we had talked about with teams in that, it's about contractors. Do they know contractors in the area? Do they know home inspectors in the area? Do they know, even local barbers, something like that, right? It's just being able to refer you to somebody that they know and trust and like, and ask questions, read reviews. So again, it's interviewing with more than one agent. We are not all the same. I know a lot of people like to think that we are all the same, but we're not. Um, you know there's over 600 right now. There's over 600 realtors in Guelph, probably closer to 700 realtors. And we all have different expertise, I guess you could say, right? So it's about asking the right questions, making sure that you have that trust and that comfort level with that other person, with the realtor that you're going to be working with, that they're going to have your best interests in mind. And again, it's like looking for a communication match, right? You want to make sure that they're going to be able to communicate, and that they're actually, saying what they're going to do. Like they're going to help guide you through the process, right? So if this is your first time buying a home, it's surrounding yourself with the right people that are going to have your best interests in mind and are going to give you the best advice. And again, I cannot stress enough to to work with somebody local, like a local realtor that knows the area, and they're going to be able to help you find the right home for you, not just any old home. Um, and they must, again, I've repeated it, they must have best interests, your best interests in mind. That is first and foremost. So now, David, just going into the financing, how do they go about getting the right financing?
Yeah. So, we talked about earlier the value of a pre-approval and how important that is. So, for sure, that's critical and one of the first steps. But really, the other part to add into that is when you're out there and you're talking with, like I said, whether it's your preferred mortgage broker or your bank person, uh, really it's important to understand what does your pre-approval really include. Is it just a rate hold? Is it a full pre-approval? And the differences are that in some situations they tell you that you have a pre-approval, but really what they've done is we've just held the rate. So there's been no actual review of your circumstances, no review of your documentation, no review of your credit profile, nothing. And in some cases that's the right answer, because you want to make sure that rates are locked in, and nothing else. In other cases, they're going to do a much more deep dive into the file itself. They're going to, even take a look at your documentation, make sure that the income numbers make sense. And in a lot of cases, that's the better answer. It doesn't always mean it's the better answer, but if somebody gets only a rate hold, but because of the terminology thinks they got a pre-approval, well, they may be surprised when maybe they go to do a full application and the numbers don't match. The approval you get doesn't match what you thought you were getting, and that could be because of a whole bunch of reasons. Often people who, either they have overtime income and it wasn't calculated the way that they expected, or they have, different kinds of self-employed, or they're paid hourly. There's so many different reasons that can affect the pre-approval. So when you look at the overall application, it's important to know how much work was gone into sort of adjudicating and reviewing that file, and having a great mortgage broker to work with who can tell you, okay, so this is what we did. This is the documentation we looked at. This is, what the pre-approval looks like. It can be massively time and pain saving for the future. So if it feels like you're doing a lot of work up front to get, why am I doing all this work for a pre-approval? My friend did one and all I had to do was say how much money they made. Well, that's okay either way, but make sure you understand what you're getting, because they're not all created equal. The second thing is obviously one of the biggest questions people ask is, fixed versus variable. Which way should I go? It's sort of a question like, where house price is going to go, or where's the stock market going to go? The truth is that there's no right answer. It's depending on your situation. And the important thing to know is that, the basics are fixed rates will give you a guarantee in exchange for a promise that you're going to pay that rate for the whole term. Most often it's 5 years. And that's good for a lot of people. In today's market, fixed rates are much higher than they were a couple of years ago. And a lot of expectation is that they'll be going down over the next little while. So if you're risk averse, it means you don't want the risk of rates changing, fixed could be a good option for you. But know that it's likely that things may go down in the future. And if it does, you may not benefit from that until after your renewal is up. Whereas with variable, you're not making that same commitment to pay a certain rate, but you're not getting a promise from the lender that they'll guarantee any rate. So it's a lot more flexible. Breaking that mortgage is a lot cheaper as well. So the flexibility of variable could be important if you think that you might move in the next 5 years. Maybe you might, your family dynamic might change, your situation, you could have kids, you could, maybe get another job. And so, that not being as locked in can be a benefit, but it means that your payments in some cases could change. Or for those that are reading and have heard about something like trigger rate, it means that your payment itself could be going less and less to principal and more to interest if rates go up. Of course, if they go down, you'll benefit from that. So there's a couple of things to think about, and it's honestly not easy to answer for everybody, but the important thing to know is that one manages your risk differently than the other. So talk with your agent, your mortgage broker about what's right for you. And there's no perfect answer, but make sure you understand those and don't just jump into whatever sounds great at first. And the third thing is that your down payment matters. So, we're all working hard to save up as much as we can. It's difficult to get to that point where we have a big down payment, but just know that even going from 5% to 10% can sometimes make a difference, depending on your situation. So even though both of those are insured mortgages, once you get over 20%, you have a lot more flexibility. So things that the lenders couldn't do before on an insured mortgage, like between 5 and 20% down, they can now do. So you may actually get different flexibility and different options with a slightly higher down payment. And as it goes up and up, it can help your rates as well. So be aware of the differences. There's no perfect answer, but the amount and where it comes from can matter. So this is going back to planning. Start early, because if you want to plan ahead for what you're going to do as far as maybe pulling out of your RSP, like this is another thing that people don't think about. But if you're planning to use your down payment for your house purchase, but you have not contributed to your RSP, well, the home buyers plan allows first time buyers to pull money out of their RSP if they want to. Well, some people might say, well, I don't have an RSP, so I'm just going to use my cash. And that's all well and good. But if you plan ahead, you could actually contribute to your RSP, withdraw the money under the home buyers plan, receive the tax deduction from the contribution, and still end up with the same down payment that has now gone through your RSP. Now, on the bright side, that could be a fairly significant tax savings for you in the next year. And remember, that program's not available after the first purchase. So it's nice to use it while you can. On the downside, it has to stay in there. The money has to stay in the RSP for 90 days before it counts. So you can't just put it in and take it out right away. So again, the planning is so important, and some of these things might just be really helpful for first-time buyers. So again, the right financing is really important. There are tons of options, and if you plan ahead, that can really help you out. But Rob, on the next step, this is most important, but where do we go from here?
Yeah. Well, even I just wanted to just to mention one thing. So, if you're taking anything out of what we've just been saying, is that it's and what we've learned over the last couple of years is it's very difficult to time everything. I know a lot of people, they want to try and time the perfect time to get a mortgage, and the perfect time to buy a home, and it just doesn't always work that way. Sometimes the markets change, and the markets can change at any time. I don't know that anybody saw that we were going to have 7 interest rates over 1 year, and that or during the COVID period, that the price of homes were going to double. Nobody, I don't think a lot of people saw that coming. So where they can go from here, if you want more information on this, and keep an eye out for any more videos that we do. Our contact information is below, our numbers. You can reach us email, or even some of our social media accounts. Feel free to follow us, and we look forward to hearing any type of feedback you might have. Thanks.